Welcome in, everybody. It's RGR Football on location, doing a little Friday Night Live to give you guys an idea of what we're seeing in the second wave of free agency. Kind of caught me off guard tonight. I was supposed to be out and about doing things with the kids. They're in their engagement here for a little bit, so I've got a little while to hang out with you guys and give you the breakdown, what I think is going on, and a little bit of reaction to what the news was today. I'm also going to take some of your comments and questions. So if you guys want to get into it, not the best lighting tonight, but I'm working on it. Let me see if I can make that a little bit better, I hope. So a lot of things that are going on are a little bit offset, right? We talked about the need for a safety. That happened today. We talked about the need about wide receivers. That hasn't happened yet. And I think that that's just taking advantage of the situation as it is. I am a little bit surprised about the Tranquill signing, and that's why I put him on the cover here. I did this before we left the house a couple hours ago because I knew I'd have a little bit of time. What's up, Cole? What's up, Carson? Hope you guys are doing well. I am feeling a little bit better, so hopefully the audio is okay. And Chris, I'm gonna get yours here in a second. I'm working off the iPad here tonight, so we're trying it. Hey Terry, how are you? Tranquill's signing is a little bit different in that he is I think, an underrated first and second down player. Obviously, he's got the speed and the agility to still play on passing downs. He was kind of pigeonholed that way early in his career, and I think he's come around and really built up the rest of his game. So I don't think that's all you get from him anymore. But he is getting a little bit older as he gets through the league. So I don't know that he's somebody that you can rely on out the gate to be playing a ton of snaps. Do you look at him as a will possibly in the base package of what the Chiefs have been playing? That is a 4-man defensive line and 3 linebacker sets in the base? Possibly. I think he could play that will if you need to, particularly if you're talking into drop zones. Something that can maybe make up and cover more field real estate in helping out Nick Bolton. With Willie on one side and Tranquill on the other, you got to feel that those overlapping circles are going to be able to cover more ground overall. What's up, Oregon? Hope you're doing well. Chris, Terry, Patrick, welcome back. Let's see. Sorry, Terry. Didn't mean to throw that up there yet. We'll get to the questions here in a couple minutes. I don't have a ton of time down here, but I wanted to make sure that I spent a little time with you guys tonight. So here's the bottom line. It doesn't mean that they're changing their defensive front. It certainly could. And I put out on Twitter there that it made me kind of scratch my chin a little bit because what you're getting is a guy who is just like Nick Bolton, used to being the center of the defense, used to calling the defense, being the green dot, being the extension of the coaching staff on the field. It's a lot to kind of put two of those guys together. Now, maybe this is just a way to have him play Will sometimes and be a guy that can come in and help and be the backup in case Nick ever had to miss a game or something like that. Nick's been really, really steady. So I don't really anticipate that, and I'm not sure if the Chiefs have seen something that make them think that they have to anticipate it more. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Sorry, we're losing a little bit of stability here. So that's one possibility. He can be that backup, the guy that can really play all 3 positions at the linebacker level. And knowing that with Mahomes in the offense, you're going to be playing from a lead quite often, that makes some sense. The other thing that it could mean is that maybe, especially because they have Cullen on staff, that maybe they want to go to some more hybrid. Maybe they run a 3-man front at times. And if you do that, then that's where you get into the 4 linebacker set. And that's where you have Willie on the outside on one side as a do-it-all, can drop into coverage, take on the tight ends, and run with them. And that turns Leo into sometimes part-time pass rusher, like we talked about a possibility when he was drafted. It also leaves you with 2 inside linebackers that can play the game the way they need to. And it makes you a little bit more multiple out of the base set. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. It's certainly an interesting and intriguing to me possibility because we always talk about how in the league you need to be more hybrid. You need to be more malleable as to what you're getting from the offense. Anthony, I appreciate you saying that. I kind of do the same thing, but usually I'm on this side of the camera. So cheers to you, buddy. The big thing is if you want to be more multiple, we've seen the drop eight stuff, right? That's a three-man front. If the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo want to experiment with that, want allowed to do some of the things that I think Cullen is really in his breadbasket, I think that makes some sense. I don't think it's going to be a full-time thing, but I think what you would have been missing there is the ability to run a four linebacker set, for lack of a better word. Now, when I say linebacker, I mean the Justin Houston type. When Justin came in, he was an off-ball linebacker that could drop, do it all, and be the pass rusher on passing downs, quote unquote. Maybe you can turn something into that with Chanel. I don't know. It all depends on what they've shown or what he's shown them in practice, and that's really what it comes down to. So I think it's really intriguing. Now, Edwards is a safety that comes in and gives you that third guy. He's played some free, and when I went back and I looked at a little bit of his film and a little bit of his stats today, it kind of confirmed what my outside perception was, is that he got stuck playing free and he's not terribly great at it. He's better in the box. That plays into being the third safety that comes in. So you're starting Reed and Cook, and if they need to play back, they can, but you bring another guy into the box. I don't necessarily know that I would have gone out there after Edwards, but they've seen something that they like. It doesn't seem like the contract's super big, and I don't have all the details, but I do think that it makes some sense to add that type of player into where you're going. So I can see that. There's an issue there with missed tackles. We got to be real. And as much as we saw Juan struggle with that at times, Juan's in Cleveland now, and now I don't know that you want to go replace that with a guy that is iffy. He's been averaging about 16% missed tackles per year since he's come into the league, and I think that's something I got to keep an eye on. Maybe they feel they can coach him up on that and they can be okay. So that's the two big ones. Still waiting on the wide receiver thing, right? And maybe that's because there's a hard line. There's some elite older guys that are going to be expensive, and there's a bunch of maybes. And I think maybe that's why we haven't seen anything yet. So let me get to your questions here while we can. The first is Chris. Before the draft comes, do the Chiefs trade for a wide receiver? I think trades are nearly off the table myself, because you have to get the trade done. You have to give up draft compensation. That's one. You have to come back and you have to sign an extension with whatever player you get, because if he's under contract, pretty much no matter what it is, they're going to want to reduce that. Just like we saw with the numbers for Jawan coming in really light at 5.8 in the first year, and then it's going to go up to 19. So you got to do the same thing. And then the hard part is most of the guys that are available in trade are a bit older. I don't know if they fit into what you want to do. Now, as soon as they become free agents, and I do think some of them are just going to be released, like Thielen has been, I think maybe that changes the tune. But Chris, right now I'm skeptical right now of a trade. I do think it becomes a free agency thing. Thanks, Chris. Terry, what do you think about McKenzie? McKenzie's always intriguing to me because of his athleticism and just rawness. I haven't seen him progress on the route running enough to make me think that he can step into a meaningful role as wide receiver 3, running out of the slot or whatever, but he certainly can have a package, much like they had for Kadarius Toney last year. It's all about dollars for payoff, and so that's what I'll be really interested to see if they choose to go that direction. It never hurts to bring in somebody that you've seen exploit you, and I think McKenzie's had a couple of decent games against the Chiefs. Maybe they're interested, but I can't promise it. Let's see, Zach. I don't know a lot about Drue Tranquill, but is the source and comparison crazy? He's faster, stronger, heavier, taller, more explosive. At least he was looking at his combine numbers. And Zach, I do believe he was linebacker 1 in his class. I have to go back and check, but Tranquill actually topped out really well and tested very well. And I think his career has shown you that a little bit in the way that he moves and the ability that he has to really kind of play on all downs. I think that's important. So no, I don't really see that as a Sorensen type player. That's funny, Bradley. Tell the truth, you're going live while while waiting on kids to finish a sports event. Okay, yes, you're right. You got me dead to rights there, Brad. That is exactly what I'm doing. So yeah, I might as well spend some time with you guys and give you some real talk, real information about what we could be seeing here. So yeah, if some kid jumps in the car, don't be alarmed. It shouldn't happen anytime soon, but gotta roll with the real. But so Zach, it's not just about combine numbers. It's the fact that he's been a leader and he had 144 tackles last year. So you have two interior, and that's why I'm talking about possibly playing some 3-man, 3-4-ish type alignments, because you have two guys that are used to being in the center of the defense that are tackle magnets, where the defense funnels to them. And having both Tranquill and Nick out there means you might want to have them on the field at the same time. I also think that allows Willie to attack more. I think you can be more creative with what you do with Willie and Chanel, maybe in combination, maybe solo. And I think it just makes you more unpredictable. So if you wanted to go to some of those drop 7s or drop 8s, you could, and you could just leave a 3-man alignment. It's going to be important to see what the D tackle position becomes if that's the case. We know Chris can rush from a defensive end spot, so that's not a problem. It's the other side. I think George can do that, sure, but you got to have pass rush in the middle as well. So let's see what they do. I think they need a little bit more than Mike Dana. And we know that Amenahue can go in there too. So they have a nice setup there that I think they can play 4-man fronts. They can play 3-man fronts. They can kind of get all the way after it. And I like that concept. Reed, let's see what you have. Seems like they're planning something big with the Patrick restructure, possibly Tunsil. It is possible, but I got to say, they only took $12 million out of Patrick's numbers, and I expected more if they were going to go after Tunsil. I expected that they felt they needed to have a little bit more room. Now, that's just my take. Brett Veach has done a couple of things that have thrown me for a loop. Famously, the Kelsey's first extension, I didn't think he was going to do that year. So he can even pull the hood over my eyes as well sometimes. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you would like this video and sub to the channel, I would appreciate it. We do a lot of these things, especially this time of year, just when we're stuck places and we don't necessarily have the time in the studio. Dan's up in Michigan. A lot of our other contributors are doing their own thing. I think you saw Seth's work last night. We have a lot of conversation, but we can't always be in front of our studio cameras. So appreciate the patience there. But you want to support the channel, hit those super chats and grab some gear in the RGR store. I appreciate it. Okay, so the restructure, I feel like if they were building that up for Tunsil, they would have pulled more money out. They certainly had the ability to. I think they were pretty frugal in what they restructured, because it basically put about $2.5 million out on the rest of each year in the future. They had a lot more room to go there if they had wanted to. So I'm a little unsure about what that actually means. Tranquill at linebacker, Chanel at D end. Possibly, and like I said, especially a rush linebacker type overhang like we saw him do, like we've seen Willie do in the past. I think that's certainly in the realm of possibility. As a full-time hand in the dirt defensive end, I don't see that for Chanel, especially now that they have Amenahue. If they had gone into the draft where they were just going to get an edge, maybe they were thinking that, but I do think it's going to be a combination. But let's be real. If you're in a 3-man front, you got to send 4. You got to run an overload of some kind. You can't just run the defensive lineman. So you got to send it from somewhere. I like Chanel as a blitzer, both from the wing as well as right down the middle. The A-gaps are his home, and I wish that they had done that more last year, but it was his rookie season. I think they will do it more next year. Thank you, Casey, and thank you, Brad. What's the theme for Brett Veach so far this season? It's cover your bases. Don't get pushed into a McCole Hardman or a Breland Speaks. That's what it is. I'm going to get guys that I think I can go to the season with if I have to, and then I can go get the guy that is the right value at the right pick for this team for the future. I don't think Amenahue's contract means that he's here super long term. His age is good at 25. Same thing, I believe. Oh, that's going to be a problem. Hold on a second. There we go. Got to get that rolling. Got to make sure the car's rolling, right? So yeah, sometimes I get caught in here too. So same thing with Juwan Taylor. I think Juwan Taylor, you can project him here through this contract. Maybe there's an extension in his future too, and I like the way that they stacked it. So maybe year 3, they're happy with performance. You just extended a few more years, and you're into his 30s, and then you're kind of in the same situation they just were with Orlando. So let me see. I'm going to grab a couple more questions, and we'll see what we can get done. That's working. That one worked. Good. And boom, that one is too. And Carson was here also. Okay, cool. So that brings up Steve. Is there a chance the Chiefs bring back Darius Harris? I think that's a distinct possibility. Just because I think I didn't see a tender on him. It's one of the few that they didn't. So I do feel like he's made some progress. They trusted him in game situations. So maybe they're going to let him go find out what's going on, and then they'll let him come back if he doesn't find a more fruitful contract out there. That could definitely be the way that it goes. I'm not 100%. Age is a factor, I think, there. At least I did, and then they do the Tranquill thing. So can't say that that's exactly it, but I do think they're trying to get lighter, faster, stronger, coverage-oriented kind of thing. And that's probably working against Darius right now. Cole, on the Chat Sports Chiefs channel, I don't know why anybody watches that anymore. They have Tranquill listed as Sam. Is this what you think Spags will do? I think they're comfortable with Willie at Sam, really. I like Willie at Will myself, but the Chiefs have been reluctant to do that. So, like, I think right now it can be a bit of both. I don't think it has to be specific. I think the people at Chat Sports like to make a lot of guesses, and I don't think they're right very often. I was expecting big things from Chanel. How will the Tranquill hurt his growth? I don't think it necessarily will, because they're not interchangeable players. If anything, it could become more of a 2-down, 3rd-down kind of situation. It could just be insurance. I think Tranquill's going to have to play special teams too. Unless they come out and they say, we're going to a 3-man front defense, we're going to be 3-4 base, in which case they'll be on the field together is my expectation. I'd be a little surprised by that, though, because that's not Spags' like bread and butter, even though I think he's open to some hybridization, especially with Cullen there to coach up the 3-4 looks. I don't think Spags is going to go for the whole thing unless he's just, at this point, got a couple of rings. He's like, you know what? I'm open to it. Let's work as a team. Let's see what we can come up with that's crazy, because I do think there's a crazy factor with Steve Spagnuolo, and I like that. Russ, thanks for taking time away from the family to give us your take. Sure, man. And that's what I'm here for. Been wanting to hear you and Dan's take today. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry it wasn't earlier. With family and work, it's been a rough week. I sound better, I hope. I feel better. I'm not 100%, but the whole family's been kind of down this week. It's our first night back out here with this particular daughter. So one has managed to dodge the bullet, and we've been carting her around all week. So I just appreciate you guys having some patience with me. Casey, how are you? Sounds like they're talking to Houston for Cooks at wide receiver. Same guy we tried to trade for in November. Yeah, and if you guys remember, John down there is a friend of mine and covers the team. He's their beat reporter. He's their version of BJ Kissel, right? And John Harris is in the building. He knows everything that goes on. And he said there was legit interest then. I have trouble knowing that Cooks wants out and knowing that organization has had enough of him. I have trouble thinking that they're going to have to give up a whole lot. So I'm fine if they want to go for it. But I also know that I don't think they want to give up a whole lot. I think they'd rather force them to release him, and then they can do their thing and run what they should run. Hey, you want to come win a ring with us? Welcome aboard. That is a ploy that I just don't think is going to get old. You hear, the whole thing and the whole rumor about, how wide receivers are just blowing up Patrick's phone. That's legit, man. Guys want to win. At the end of the day, this is hard work. This destroys your body. You want to win. You want to have something to show for it, and not just in the bank account. You know what I mean? That's first and foremost to fund your life and your kids' lives and college for your kids and all that stuff. Like, it's life-changing money for you and your family. But at the end of the day, you also want to leave a mark, right? And so I do think that is part of the equation. Mark, hope you're doing good. Do you think the Chiefs defense can be top 10? It's always a possibility. And I will say this. the corners have come along faster than I thought they would. That helps. I like Cook. I know he's a little bit of a hothead. That's all right. I'd rather him play with too much passion than not enough. I'll tell you that. And so really it is about if you can do for the defensive line what you did for the wide receiver group, where you don't have an ace in the hole, like number one draft pick, all world pass rusher, but you got 4 or 5 guys you can rotate through and can consistently get pressure on the opposing quarterback. I think that's the key. I think Tranquill makes them a little bit more solid and a little bit deeper at the linebacker position, so that they can sustain an injury or two and not have to worry about it. So I do think that there's a possibility. Top 10 is going to be tough unless you get a really good pass rush. And that means evolution from George, evolution from Amenahue, evolution from Mike Dana to kind of raise their game towards Chris Jones's level. If they can do that, then yes, Mark, I think they can get to the 10. Lush, appreciate that. And you are a beast. Could this be because teams are running more 12 and 13? It's possible. Generally against that, you want to have like a 4-man front where you can overhang linebacker defenders, right? But that puts you as kind of a low plane at the line and generally only one linebacker and then DBs, right? So that makes you susceptible, to break through runs in particular, right? I think it's more likely that with 12 and 13 personnel, you feel like you wanted to go to that 3 safety set all the time. But I don't think, especially in free agency and honestly in the draft, maybe the Chiefs don't feel that it's a great group that they have to choose from. So they're going to go with a speed linebacker, an agile linebacker to kind of build that out rather than going to the safety depth. It might be forcing their hand a little bit. But yes, I think 12 and 13 is going to be the thing that teams try to do to muscle up on them. I think that they're well equipped to deal with it, though. I like him, and he is crazy strong for how he has actually grown into his body since college, but he was a little thin, a little lanky coming out, and I do think he's grown into it. Thanks, Luscious. Thank you, Shane. How would you rank going into the season with Tunsil and Taylor? They got Tunsil on this offensive line, and Taylor's the right tackle. It's the best offensive line in football, period. They already have the best interior 3. So that pair would put them well over the top. I don't think there's anybody that would be close to competing with them, to tell you the truth. That would be a 5-man offensive line where maybe the weakness is Trey Smith, who's Pro Bowl caliber. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it at that point. And I think Trey's on the way up. Trey got the biggest payout in the AFC West, I believe, for performance-based pay, meaning that he outplayed his contract. And so I think he got an extra $600,000 this year. That's huge. And I think he's the only Chief that was on the performance-based payout. So that was pretty significant too. If they could add 2 tackles to that, you're in business forever. Am I crazy? But all these signings make me feel like Chiefs have 2 or 3 targets in a trade-up. That's certainly part of the scenario. Because if you're spending the money here, how do you compensate for that? You do it with draft picks that are on controlled, incremental contracts, and you know what your expenditure is going to be on them, right? It's like buying on a budget. You want to invest in things that you know what you're going to have to spend and you know how they're going to perform. There's always risk in the draft. Everybody likes to say that it's a crapshoot. It's not a crapshoot, but it's always risky. Nobody can say for certain what's going to happen. So I understand. Hey, welcome, Holly, and welcome you, Doug and Gary. Oh, my good Lord, everybody's in here. You too. Trying to get those up there as fast as I can. So you have to build in and take care of that inherent risk, as people are eyeing me here in the parking lot. And that's just that's part of the part and parcel of the program. Let's see. And that was Joseph. Okay, cool. Carson, do you think that these are in case the new rookies don't develop fast, as they have in years past, since we did have a new safety and probably going to draft Willie's replacement, since we can't pay everyone? I don't think that Willie's going to break the bank, to tell you the truth. And the cap is likely to go up 30 or so million next year. So I think there's room. But the first part, I absolutely agree with. They are filling the ranks with guys they can go to season with in case, and then they're going to put rookies on top and see who wins. I think there's going to be rookies that won't make this roster again. That's the nature of being a Pro Bowl team. So I think they're hedging their bets. They're covering all their bases, and I think that's what you do when you're drafting from ahead, being the last pick of the draft. Bradley, any missteps by Brett Veach so far? Missteps? I don't think I would say there's any missteps. I assume that they're investigating the wide receiver group pretty well. I assume that they have talks with McColl as well. I don't know if McColl's going to get a deal. The injury, I think, probably is maybe the worst timing ever for a free agent. It kind of sucks for McColl, but hey, it's a way to come back. You're gonna have to be on the cheap, but you could get back to another Super Bowl run. And hey, rings are rings. Other than that, we'll see if anything else comes down. I think in retrospect, I think the Orlando thing worked out the way it should have. Could you see Veach bundling picks and picking 6 or 7 higher impact players? I don't know if they can get all the way down to 6 or 7. They're going to have to give up multiple picks for what I think they want to do in the first round. I just can't decide if that's an edge rusher or a left tackle. I'm not convinced that Jawan Taylor is going to play left tackle. I think he can, and I think they think he can, and I know he thinks he can. But I'm not convinced that he's going to. So we'll see what they do. And I think if they don't do something drastic like with Tunsil, I think it's a good bet to try to go up in the first, and that will take a lot of picks. It might take 4 or 5 picks to move up to where you need to. Chad, what do you think of the Chiefs' next move will be? I did not see the safety coming today or the linebacker, to tell you the truth. I hope that it's some kind of resolution at the wide receiver spot, but it could be something else. I think they've addressed some major issues. The tackle's still the next thing. It's wide receiver or tackle at this point, in terms of like filling it out so you can go to the draft and feel really good. And Chad also asked, with all the signings, does this change the players the Chiefs draft? Yes. And I think it's all preparation so that you can go after what is probably becoming a reduced group of targets. Chiefs are pretty notorious for running a light board, meaning that they go into the draft with about 150 options on their board, meaning that they've taken everybody else off. I try to do that every year. I never get down that low. I try to get down, but I generally end up around 180 guys. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep trying. Dan's going to help me, I think. Bert, how are you, buddy? 2 great additions in sequel, Tranquill. Sorry, I'm going to call him sequel, I guess. And Mike Edwards staying young at 26, 27. Exactly. Like you're lowering what you need to do. And they're already one of like the 6 lowest age rosters last year. So it makes a lot of sense. That's how you can afford to keep running it back, by getting younger and spending well. Miss Holly, thank you. Nice to see you. I try to stay away from the pundits, but I think it's hilarious how they're saying that the Bengals getting Orlando has closed the gap. I kind of find that funny too. Because let's be real, Chiefs just need a speed rusher to defeat Orlando Brown. It ain't that hard. I would love to see something like a Nolan come around, right? And if they are serious about going to that 3-4 base, Nolan Smith's on the table. BJ Ojulari is on the table. 2 guys that I like, and I think BJ needs a little bit more time to adapt to the NFL game, but I think he can get there, and I do like what he brings to the table. Holly, you are absolutely right, and I'm with you. We're going to do a couple more, folks, and then it's going to be about time for me to get interrupted by children. So, hey, do you think that it's possibly still to bring in a big name wide receiver even after these signings? It is, Jonathan. It's not going to break the bank too much. And at the end of the day, if you really need to get cash, you can still go back to Mahomes' contract and do another restructure. And you can still go to Chris. If you get the extension done with Chris, you have the possibility of like 30 million plus in cap space. Let's see. James, do you think the draft being held in Kansas City will cause Veach to treat the draft differently? I do not. I don't think he cares 2 iotas whether he's drafting in the same room to the same phone. He doesn't care. I'm sure he wants people to have a good time, but I don't think that'll be like an effect on it. Did I spell Drue wrong, Jake? Sorry. You know me and spelling. The linebacker signing was weird. Or was that just a depth move? I don't know if it was just depth, but it certainly can't hurt. I think they could play more 3-man front. Talked about it earlier in the show. So check that out and see what you think. Do you have any specific draft crushes? I have a number of them. Nobody that I'm ready to really reveal now. If I hadn't been sick, I would have gotten my top 5 quarterbacks out. My list is a little bit different than most people's, like I am every year. And I'm burning away. I've got the Matrix about 2/3 ready. I'm going to try to burn through it tomorrow. I'll have it for you guys Sunday night. So you can pre-order right now over, let's see if I can put that on the screen. I can. Even better. So you can pre-order here at rogueapc.com. There's a link in the description that takes you right to it. You can pre-order it now. When I drop it on Sunday, the Sunday night live stream, I'll just let everybody know it should be up by then. I'll just confirm that everybody can go download it. You should get a link in your receipt when you do that. So we're in pretty good shape there. Let's see. I'll let some of those crushes out then. I will say this. I've let a few guys that I like be known. A.T. Perry's a wide receiver that I like. Tillman's a receiver that I like. I do have JSN up near the top, so you can count on that. You can count on Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Miss Holly. That is for sure. Got that on tonight. I'm going to be flaunting it. With the teenagers that couldn't care less. So, it is what it is. Yes, they did restructure, but until that deadline, they could go back for more. It's like a piggy bank. They can go back if they really want to. Sully, does this make Gay able to be pushed down more into a pass rush role? If not a pass rush role itself, it could be more of a blitz role. I think they could send him after the quarterback a lot more, and that's what I'm hopeful for. I am a little bit concerned as to how they're going to align them. That's kind of what I want to see. And I really am interested to see if they decide to throw a little 3-man front into this defense. Devondre, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs were to trade for Ayuk? I like Ayuk. I would like him in this offense, but I don't think a trade can be justified at that point because they're going to want draft picks and he's going to break the bank when he has to sign. Daryl, thanks for the support, buddy. How do you feel how everything is going so far? I'm optimistic. I'm looking for a big move still to come, and I just can't decide if that means they're going to do one of these free agent crazy things or if this is going to be a huge move up in the draft. I'm not sure which. I don't know that they can do both, but maybe. Who knows? 177, I'm just going to keep going back to that because I didn't think they could do anything, and the magic happened. So you guys know that I'm going to leave them room for credit. Thank you, Holly. Glad you're feeling better. And have a great weekend. And you as well. Sunday Night Live, we will still do that. Don't worry about it. 600 plus. Yes. I hope you're having a good Patty's Day. I'm going to try to go maybe have a beer with a friend after I get the kids home. So we'll see what happens there. Always a good day for us Irish. Who's the most prone to be on our trade block? That's a good question. I hope that it's not Chris Jones. I worry that there is some thought that might be an option. I don't think that it is. Other than that, I don't know, other than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if there's really much of a trade block coming out of Kansas City. It's kind of how I feel about it, Scott. Doug, do you think that we'll have a fullback next season? I'm really interested to see that. It's funny. I'm going to give you guys some of the Mike Burton show. We recorded it just a few days before he signed in Denver. So we had a really frank discussion, and we both felt at that time that Mike was going to go back to Kansas City. So something changed in that time, and I haven't been able to really get him on the phone since then. So next time I talk to him, we'll find out. But I'll have pieces of it. I'll put a little bit out in public. You members will get the whole conversation because there's a lot to it. And I know, people aren't going to want to watch in public, a guy that is now on another team. But it's a lot of really good insight about how the team runs, about Andy, about Patrick, and the whole 9 yards. And I don't know, I don't feel that he slowed down. I don't think there's any performance thing there. So I do feel that maybe Andy's just going to ride with Gray as a pseudo fullback or something like that. I really don't know. I'm intrigued to see it. If Andy goes away from the fullback, I don't know. I don't know what to do with myself, man. Andy's been one of the staunch, always have a fullback. So I will be distraught. I will tell you that. That's for sure. Last question, Haji. Do you think that our best bet at wide receiver is to just keep McCole? It's not the best bet, but I think it's a likely one. And I like having him in the stable. It's again a question of dollars and a question of can he stay healthy. But at this point, I don't think he's going to get a huge contract elsewhere. And I think he's probably more valuable to the Chiefs right now than he's going to be to another team coming off the injury. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think everything's still in play. I think we have a lot to expect to hear from. And before everybody jumps in the car, I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Take care of yourself. Be careful out there. I know you're having fun, but Tracy, good timing as I'm just wrapping up. So thank you for joining. Not my best lighting, but appreciate you guys for hanging out for a while here, even though I'm just doing this from the car. Thielen is likely affordable. I just don't know that he has much to offer the offense. We'll see what happens. So have a good one. Enjoy your Patty's Day. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you Sunday Night Live. And, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we'll have news by then. You all have a good weekend. I'll talk to you then.